Yeah, in this conversation, in that conversation thread, this one lady tells me, well, the revolution is coming, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember it verbatim, but it's like the revolution is coming, and we're gonna have to take you out as well. And she says it so like in such a coy manner, and then she commented like boop, like because you're you're for you're against what we're about, and so you need to be taken out because it's that sort of like binary where if you're not with me, you're against me. And I was a little shocked by it. I was like, somebody had the audacity to just say, hey, you should totally be gunned down in the revolution because I don't like what's coming out of your mouth.
Yeah, and everyone thinks they're kidding until they're not kidding, right? Well, you listen. You gotta stay away from the crazies. The crazies will give you a distorted view of reality, right? So if you're getting engaged with Marxists and radical leftists in Facebook, they're going to give you, like, if you keep doing that, you're going to get a view of the world that is very distorted. And so that is sort of my first, really, you have to take very strict care of the company that you keep. So you really need to be careful, be as cautious and selective and discriminating of the people you allow into your mind as you would with the food you allow into your body, right? You wouldn't just say, hey, it's a dead squirrel by the road, get a fork. Because that would be like, I don't know how long it's been there. I don't know how many flies have laid their eggs in it. And I don't really want to become a giant queen bee hive nest for bottle flies. So you need to be very careful about what you allow entrance into your mind, because everyone that you give access to your mind will take up residence there and will reproduce and will infest your perspective and so on. So, arguing on Facebook with people who are philosophically mental, I mean, there's this. There's this sort of, oh, white countries are so bad. It's like, why the hell does everyone want to come then? I mean, that's crazy. I mean, why is everyone literally risking life and limb to get into white countries if white countries are so terrible and white people are so terrible? Wouldn't that be like Jews trying to break into Auschwitz or Treblinka? I mean, that wouldn't make any sense. Shouldn't they be heading the other way? Like, so, people who are that disconnected from reality and people who are full of that much hatred that they're talking about killing white people, those people can't be reasoned with. They're really disturbed people and bad people, to use the technical term. So you have to figure out what it is in you that is driving you to engage with people in this kind of way and at this kind of level. Learn from politicians. Hillary Clinton is not going to give a speech at the Republican convention hoping to get Republicans to vote for her. Politicians, they figure out, okay, these people are going to vote for me no matter what. And this is why Democrats are the last people to respond to black concerns, because they feel that the black vote is in their pocket anyway, so they're not going to do anything to really address issues within the black community. All they're going to do is ginny up a bunch of race riots and race conflicts, race baiting, so that Republicans come up with stuff that they consider oppositional, and all they're doing is guaranteeing their vote. The best way to get Democrats to respond to black people would be for black people to stop voting Democrat, right? And then they would start to right respond, but they're not, because they don't need to, right? And you don't bring flowers to the sure thing booty call, right? You don't need to. So the politicians divide people into three categories: will never vote for me, will for sure vote for me, might vote for me. And they focus their energies on the might vote for me, right? There's no point pouring their energies in people who are already going to vote for them. No point pouring their energies in people who will never vote for them. They pour their energies into people who might vote for them. Now, these people are never going to focus and follow a free society. This is all childhood trauma. This is nothing to do with reasoned position. This is all to do with very disturbed and very, very traumatized childhoods. Anybody who can say, I want to kill white people, is so disturbed that the idea of reaching them with reason, with evidence, is impossible. I mean, you're not going to do it. I mean, if you want to try reaching past the psychotic, violent aggression and try and find a way to touch the hurt and help them with the hurt and so on, you can give it a shot. But I wouldn't. I mean, that even if they really wanted help from a mental health professional, the odds of them overcoming all of that and developing empathy, and I mean, they're so tiny that even if they wanted to, and there was a dedicated professional who was trained and focused on helping that person, the odds of them getting better, I would imagine, are very low. As far as I understand, there's no cure for that kind of lack of empathy. So you are not a trained mental health professional, and these people are not even asking for help. So even if they wanted help and you were trained, the odds of helping them would be tiny. The odds of you helping them or me helping them, zero. Not a little bit, not a tiny bit, not one to zero. Absolutely zero. And I'm saying this to you because I think it's true, and because you need to focus your energies on the people who have minds to change. Right? People who agree with reason and evidence, yeah, have great chats with them and so on. People who are virulently opposed to reason and evidence, avoid them like the plague. The people who have minds to change, they're capable of thinking, they're capable of listening to reason, they ask intelligent questions. Doesn't matter if they disagree with you for months, as long as they're asking intelligent questions and willing to accept particular arguments. And you've heard this when I talk to people on this show, there's always this weird thing, like you establish, like reasoning is a series of steps, right? If A, then B, if B, then C, and you establish something, you get to the next step, and then they act as if the first thing was never established. Well, these are people you can't have continual conversations with, because you can't ever, you're trying to build a house, you put one brick on top of the other, they knock the bottom brick out. And guess what? You can't build a house with that person, because that's all they're going to do. So look for people who've got curiosity, who've got originality, who are open to new evidence, who are willing to explore possibilities and so on, and who are not offended by original thought, or at least thought that is original to them. Those are the people that you want to focus on. My concern, Ruben, is that you are going to spend your time, energy on these people who aren't going to change. You're going to beat yourself up and bruise yourself, and become like, it's going to become like a torture to have conversations with these people. It bothers me that that's impacting you emotionally, as I'm sure it is. It also bothers me all of the people that you could have brought reason and evidence and philosophy to, that you haven't, because you're beating your head against these wall of empathyless creeps. Does that make any sense? You can unmute now. Sorry for that.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. And you're right, it did affect me emotionally when I read that little comment.
Yeah, well, of course, it's a murderousness. It's a murderousness. It's horrendous. But of course, anti-white racism is given almost infinite play, because it's considered to come from wounded injustice and so on. So anti-white racism is considered a form of self-defense, whereas any expression of white supremacy, of white preference or white nationalism or standing with other whites, is just immediately it's white supremacy and evil and so on, right? So even if it's not against any other race. And but you just got to not be around people like that. It's like triage in a wartime MASH unit or something, right? But this person is going to be okay for an hour. This person is going to die in the next 4 minutes. This person, if I work on them, has a chance to live. And then I'll get to the guy. So it's just triage, right? And these people are not going to be available and open to reason and evidence. They are some seriously damaged and disturbed people. And I think it can actually be dangerous. So my sense is steer clear of those people and really try to work with people. You're shooting out flares. Just put out a little bit of counter information, and if you get swarmed with hysteria and hostility, or whatever, then it's like, okay, well then I guess I'll keep moving until I find people who have a mind to be changed. But it's not in Facebook arguing with trolls. It's going to wear you out, and it's not going to change anyone's mind. And they're doing that in order to, right? They're drawing you off. They're drawing you off, Ruben, to keep you away from the people whose mind they're perfect. Like you're perfectly playing into their hands, right? They're setting this elaborate trap, which trolls do. And what trolls do is they set these elaborate traps. You go in, you engage with them, and they're like, well, great. He's now not out making the world a better place. He's coming and playing these stupid games with us, which we're never going to change, and we don't even care. We just want to paralyze the good, paralyze the good. And the best way to paralyze the good is to get it to engage with people whose minds will never change, which keeps good and curiosity, reason, and evidence away from people who have minds to change. You're joining them in their cause, is what I'm saying.